If you've ever wondered what a high-end workstation looks like in a 4U rack mountable chassis, you're not going to want to miss the video. Hey everybody, and thanks for joining us today on our YouTube channel. I'm Joseph Mundy, the sales manager for AVA Direct, where we work with thousands upon thousands of countless PC components for you to be able to choose a truly unique configuration that is just right for you. So today we're going to discuss a workstation in a 4U chassis. And some of you may wonder why you'd want to put workstation hardware inside of a 4U chassis. And a lot of that has to do with the implementation. Now, I know we typically talk about what the use case scenario is for products after we talk specifications, but I feel like that plays into my explanation a little bit. A lot of times you will see companies or government entities putting hardware inside of a rack mountable chassis because it's integrating inside of an area of the business or the compound where they store all of their servers and systems. So implementation is more about ease of use and utilizing whatever it is they already have, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to take these systems and they're going to want to implement them inside of some sort of network, which is always in some sort of a cabinet solution. So this system is going to be used for simulation and training. A lot of those kinds of systems are clustered together. So this one system is a part of many that are going to be conjoined or combined through the use of a high bandwidth network to provide overall GPU compute or horsepower to power the simulation or the training that they have in mind. This could be anything from rooms with full-scale wall-based displays that simulate training out in the field for law enforcement or for military, or it could be, for people that are trying to get their pilot's license and they want to have an immersive experience. So same scenario with different equipment, of course. So that is the main reason why you'd see people use a rack mountable chassis with high-end hardware, is for the implementation based on how it's going to be implemented in the field or on their end. There's really no other benefit outside of that except maybe cooling. The traditional design of a rack mount chassis is you have the intake fans up front, you have the exhaust fans back in the rear, and when you do that and you use high RPM based fans that have a lot of static pressure, with the lid on top of it, the air only has one direction to go. It's incredibly efficient so long as you're using the right hardware. So you'll notice a lot of times we will mount heat sinks with the fins orienting in the direction of the airflow. So you may not be able to tell by looking at this Be Quiet heatsink, but the fins are oriented so the fan air that's going to be pushed this way is going to blow through the fins and not at them, against them, right? So it's going to be incredibly efficient. And although the fan, some of you might think that this fan is blowing this way, it's actually blowing down at the heatsink. So if anything, it's going to kind of create a tunnel effect where the air is going to push down at the heatsink at this direction. The airflow from the case fans is going to be forced in this direction, and then it's going to exhaust out the rear. So it's an incredibly efficient configuration for what it is. The only difference being that the GPU is a bit of an exception to that. And that's only because with these high-end GPUs these days, blower fans don't exist. And blower fans are set up in the exact same way as described with the airflow in this case. Blower fans will generally just direct air out the rear of the GPU. And I guess GPUs just run too hot now to where that's no longer an efficient solution for these GPUs. But it's not going to negatively impact the GPU temperatures. If anything, it's going to help a little bit too, because GPUs tend to be a little bit more sensitive with hot, stagnant air. And as long as a case doesn't have hot, stagnant air, the GPU temperatures won't be expected to rise. So now that I've rambled on about a whole bunch of technical jargon that half of you probably don't even care about, let me talk about specifications. So the processor is a 13900K. For some of you that may not know, that is a 24-core processor, 16 energy efficient cores, 8 performance cores, right? And that is clocked at 5.8 gigahertz. The cooler, since I mentioned it, is the Dark Rock TF2. It is a 230 watt TDP cooler, so it is a chunky monkey, and it will cool a lot of the high-end CPUs without any issues. 230 watt TDP used to be like top end. That was some of the most efficient, capable coolers in their day. That's quickly becoming the norm with a lot of these high-end CPUs, Threadripper especially. Now the board is a Z790-P Wi-Fi board. That's more of kind of a mid-range budget-oriented board, unless the customer or the business or the government entity has a need for specific interfaces such as 10 gigabit or dual LAN. There's really no need to invest more in a board unless you're going to use those features. So that would be my explanation as to why they have a mid-range board installed. It's got a total of 32 gigs of memory, which is sufficient for simulation and training usage or even some gaming. The graphics card is an RTX 4080. It is by PNY and it is their VERTO series. Has a total of 2 storage drives, 1 SSD, one hard drive. The SSD is a 1TB 990 Pro. The hard drive is a 2TB BarraCuda spinning at 7200 RPMs. The power supply is an EVGA G5 1000 watt. It is gold efficient. And the case is by a company known as Chenbro. I'm not gonna give you the model number because it's just a bunch of random numbers that really don't make sense to anybody. So if you're interested in it, you can see for yourself. I don't have to provide any additional explanation. What I do like about Chenbro cases is they're not nearly as expensive as a lot of the rack mount case options out there from competitors. They're built very well, nice and sturdy. They don't feel cheap. You know, if my only critique would be that maybe rather than just having the front of the chassis painted black along with the support handles, they could paint the whole, the whole interior and the exterior of it black. But to be fair, as I stated, if you can picture this slid inside of a rack cabinet, you're only going to see the front of it anyway. So what does it matter? It's cost saving for manufacturers more than it is a benefit to the aesthetics or the people that are using it, and it really doesn't matter that much for the people that buy these kinds of things. You know, if you care that much about aesthetics, you're not going to be buying a rack mount system anyway. So that about sums up the specifications, but I would like to point out something that was very important that did make this kind of build possible, and that is the 12-pin power right angle adapter for the GPU. Now, traditionally, anytime you would install a graphics card, or rather a high-end graphics card in a rack mountable chassis, you were forced into using a 4U chassis. Sometimes you could squeeze it into a 3U chassis if you used Quattro cards or AMD FirePro cards, because the power pins for the cards were always at the rear. When you consider using cards like GeForce or Radeon in a 3U, it is impossible to close the top lid of the chassis because of the power cable. The arch of the cable has too much of a radius in its bend for us to be able to force down the lid. And exactly as I said, if you have to force anything when building it, we're not gonna do that. We're not about building systems that you have to force to work. We like to build systems that work well based on the solutions we have at our fingertips. And the solution that we implemented here is the CableMod 90-degree adapter for the 12+4 GPU power pin standard that is, well, becoming the standard for new graphics cards thanks to NVIDIA. So the RTX 4080 is able to have its power provided to it without impeding on closing the lid of the chassis, and it's nice and clean looking too. My only gripe would be to, you know, use an ATX 3.0 power supply potentially, so you could have the 12-pin high power cable going from the power supply and right to the adapter, and you don't have this bundle of cables. But again, this is the nitpicky gamer Joe side of me talking about things that I would improve for a system that is literally gonna have the lid on it and slid into a cabinet. So it really helps you get into the mind of the end user when you recognize what's important for a particular kind of user or company versus what's important for a gamer. And recognizing that kind of importance and those priorities, I think, is what sets AVA Direct apart from competitors. We're not just building the same systems and forcing the same kinds of priorities down everybody's throats based on whatever system we're building, right? Every kind of build has a different set of priorities that we are attuned to and that we are aware of, and we cater to very easily. So if you have an interest in a system of your own, please, by all means, visit our website at avadirect.com, or you can give us a call, 216-503-6374, located right here in Twinsburg, Ohio. Everybody, thank you for your time today, and you have yourself a wonderful day or weekend, depending on when we post it.
If you like the PC in the video, be sure to contact our sales team by emailing sales@avadirect.com or head to the website by clicking the link within the description below. You can choose from many pre-built options, gaming or workstation based, or use the configurator to build the PC of your dreams. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you can be notified of future content, and give the video a like in support of our channel. You can follow the variety of our social media channels by visiting avadirect.com/community. And you can also join our Discord if you wish to engage in discussions related to custom-built PCs.